It's not easy, but obviously because I've been in this for a long time, um, I would say that I was more. It would be more accurate to say that when I was first new in politics and not as well known, I was more subject to violence than now that most people know me. So most places I go to, they're not likely to be violent towards me. Even if they don't, somebody can even actually tell me, Madam, though I'm so party, but I'm working for you. I have put in my best into this territory over the last almost 20 years. My name is Ireti Kingibe, and I'm the FCT Center for the Labour Party. I see that FCT has been greatly underrepresented in the sense that we are the capital of Nigeria. We are the face of the country and the seat of government. And considering all of that, I think that we should have had much better development by now. We don't have any public transport system. We don't have water, lights, roads in most of Abuja except for the center, which is Maitama, Asokoro, Wuse 2, Central Business District, and the airport road, all those ring roads going everywhere. But otherwise, once you leave those roads, there's nothing. Almost most of our communities are slums. Go into Nyanya, go enter Gosa village, go into Gishiri, go enter Mpape. I can go on and on. And this is even in Amak, which is the metropolitan area. Now, if I now go to places like Kuje, Kwagwalada, Kwali, Abachi, Buari, all these are also part of the FCT. There's nothing. So I know that these problems can be addressed by credible, competent leadership. For one thing, FCT has 2 budgets, so we can't actually say there's no money. They have been appropriating funds for roads and things, and even awarding the contracts, but we don't see any roads being built. At least none of the ones that we're talking about. So some of the things that I intend to do as the FCT Senator, working with the minister, because all ministers have to work with the Senate, and all the senator also has to work with the minister, is to make sure that we have better health and sanitation. You and I know what FCT hospitals are like. And the really good hospitals, we do have a few, but they're so expensive. The general public cannot afford them. I would also look into, I know there's a National Health Insurance Fund, but I also want to look for one specifically for FCT residents so that we have a choice. So that when an FCT person is really sick, if need be, they can go to some of these hospitals that are becoming world standard here. I want a transportation master plan. We're struggling to even have buses, not to talk about anything else. In the capital, we can do better. We certainly need, I should be able to jump on a bus from in front of the secretariat and it takes me all the way to Gwagwalada, even at 12 midnight. I should be able to do that. So I'm going to look into that. It's something that's been in the pipeline, but it's been in the pipeline for 6 years. And maybe might continue to be in the pipeline for 6 more years if we continue on the same trajectory that we've been on. Secondly, most of Abuja, we're agrarian society, except for Amak. Everywhere else, they're farmers. But how many big farms do you see? How many major agro-processing industries do you see? Nothing. That also needs to change. Education, that is the cornerstone of human capital development. And right now in the FCT, even in Maitama here, some of the schools, children sit on the floor. Not to talk about what's happening in Nyanya, Jikwe, and Orozu. that also I'm going to look into. You know, when I was talking to you earlier, I said FCT is to be treated like a state. But there are certain bills that need to be passed, policies that need to be in place for us to be treated like a state. Now, those policies have not been passed, most of them, and a lot of them need to be passed. I call them housekeeping policies, meaning they don't really concern anybody else except the FCT. And the reason we take them to the National Assembly is the equivalent of our state assembly for the state assembly for the FCT. But one of the things I feel very strongly about is women empowerment. Now, I'll tell you why. The truth of the matter is that if you empower a woman, the children are fine. Even if the father of the home isn't doing well and he's not looking after the family, once she has the capacity, the family will be fine. Women are the backbone of the family. They are the heart of the family. And I think that in the way women are so not empowered, we haven't really looked at the problems of the family in a holistic manner. And it's one of my personal projects, empowering of women across the FCT. There are lots of things that women can do, and I don't mean giving them 10 naira, 20 naira and saying it's small business loan, what can that do? When I go to the markets in the FCT supermarkets, all the oils, avocado oil, sesame oil, they all come from Ghana. Why? They can actually all come from here. We can actually start taking them out of Nigeria, exporting them. Except that for a while it may not be necessary. We've got the population to use it all up here. Women can be involved in so many small businesses. Even things as simple as local chickens. Do you know that local chickens are dying out? You can't find them anymore like before. What does it take to look after 1,000 chickens? Some space, somebody who gives them water and throws grain for them and a place for them to go into when it's raining. That's really all. So there are many ways we can empower women, and I intend to look into them. I intend to be personally involved in it. One of the things I plan on doing if I were to become the senator of the FCT, I intend to donate my basic salary into a fund for the FCT. Now that fund can be used for many things. I mean, a lot of things can be put in the budget, but there are lots of things you can't put in the budget, and I'm hoping that that fund will be sort of an emergency fund for when things come up in the FCT and we need to access money immediately. So the long and short of it is that I am coming to the FCT with a lot of goodwill. As they say in Hausa, I'm coming with one heart and two clear hands. I intend to work for the people of the FCT. I'm a mother of 3 children. My sons live in Nigeria, my daughter doesn't. And I want them to have a country that they too would be proud to say, yeah, I was born here, this is the place to be in. They've lived here all their lives. And it can be that way. I intend to make Abuja a model that other states want to emulate. Because Abuja is structured to be like that. Even the Maitama, Asokora and all those places I tell you about, lots of us provide our own water, we do a lot of things ourselves. It's just that we have the economic capacity for most people who live in this area to do it. So a lot needs to be done. The other thing I think that we should explore is how the more affluent members of the society can pay maybe an extra 10,000, maybe 20,000 a month, not forcibly, but appealed to, in order to improve on education for the less privileged members of our society. As I said, I've said that to you before, how the more privileged members of a society treat their less privileged shows you the kind of society that they are. And that is one of the things I'm hoping to work on, not by forcing them, but by actually writing to them as the senator and appealing to them that this is what I think we should do, and maybe we can add that for 10,000 or 20,000 onto ground rent or something that everybody has to pay, and then we can add that onto it, and it would go a long way into making a big difference. So getting this new Nigeria that we're all talking about requires all hands on deck, collective effort from everybody. Me, you, everybody. The other thing, I have these programs. I'm working on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So for each goal, I've developed a program for how we're going to do it in the FCT. As I said, I'm going to be creating people, volunteers I call Iriti Marshals, primarily young people, but it can be anybody. Whatever interests you, you can go and pick that goal to volunteer for. I will have captains in each ward, so they will be the ones who will motivate, keep track of the volunteers, and in return, when we get going, I intend to motivate the young people by, okay, if it's today is hope to clean Abuja, everybody comes out and cleans. The young people who are the volunteers, who are the marshals for that day, I will motivate them by giving them data. I will do things that we all get involved. I have an I Go Chop with Ireti program, which is trying to make sure that all the people, every Friday, I want something called a Chop Friday, so that everybody, we all pool our resources to make sure that at least 1,000 people in the FCT, across the FCT, local government by local government, have food to eat. So once a week, we all look forward to feeding as many people as we can. And there's also violence against women, and making sure we'll also enforce with whoever is coming in as minister, the Discrimination Against Persons with Disability Bill, which means that all public buildings must be accessible to people with disability. It's not good enough that you put some government agency at the top of 4 flights, and then there's no lift and there's no ramp, there's no nothing. That those things must stop. We need to have an inclusive government. And those are all the things that I am going to work for and work with, and specifying on youth and women. Because when they are fine, everything is fine.
Now, Labour Party, you have been the face that has brought Labour Party to the doorstep of every Nigerian resident in Abuja. You're going against PDP and the ruling party APC. What is your chance going to this election, and what's the acceptability of Labour Party in FCT?
Well, with all due modesty, you live here. I think Labour Party has been very well received by the people of the FCT. People need hope, and that is what the Labour Party is giving to FCT and Nigeria. And as for my chances of defeating those people, I think they're quite good. But at the end of the day, it's the choice of the people. They can, continue with the status quo, or they can opt for a new Nigeria that we can go and build together. And going forward, I would like to call on all young people. I am going to launch a program tomorrow which I call Abuja VIP, which is I'm asking vote in peace for a new Nigeria. I am calling on young people because they're all going to be highly provoked, but I'm insisting that they all must go and vote in peace. And I've made t-shirts for them, calling them Abuja VIPs, because they must go and vote in peace.
I would be doing...
It's not easy, but obviously because I've been in this for a long time, I would say that I was more... it would be more accurate to say that when I was first new in politics and not as well known, I was more subject to violence than now that most people know me. So most places I go to, they're not likely to be violent towards me. Even if they don't, somebody can even actually tell me, Madam, though I'm so party, but I'm working for you. I have put in my best into this territory over the last almost 20 years, and I've never been elected to anything. I've never held any government position or anything. I've always been in the private sector. Correction, recently, in the last few years, the only government agency will say pseudo-government, because though it's supposed to be a private company, but it is actually the state, the only shareholder is government, is Abuja Investment Company Limited. I'm on the board. And everybody who knows me knows that I'm for fairness, justice, integrity, especially when it comes to public duties. My story has been that I've always been somebody who gets involved. If this thing needs fixing, I don't say, oh, it needs fixing, somebody should fix it. It needs fixing, I noticed it, I'll go and fix it. Even when I was in university, I was president of the Nigerian Students Union, and we had a big Nigerian population in the university I went to in the United States. I schooled mostly abroad. I went to high school in New York, I went to university in Minnesota. And even after I got back, I was not in mainstream politics, but I was on the sidelines. My husband was, or rather my former husband was running, and I was the person who would pick, oh no, that picture is no good. I wouldn't follow somebody who looks like that. I'd rather somebody like this. So I was always involved, and I've always been involved. I air my opinions. I would even actually, once I differed when he was chairman of SDP, I preferred the candidates from NRC. And I must say he was open-minded enough to know that I had a right to prefer another candidate, not necessarily the ones in his party. So people would come to our house and find an NRC poster on the gate and like, chairman, what's NRC poster doing here? I say, it's Madam's candidate. And nobody, but that's how we've evolved to where we are now. Now, if I ever dared to do such a thing, or any woman dared, everybody will say, kill her, how dare she have an opinion that's different from yours. But at that time, nobody bothered, not him, not even the people in his party. They just felt, okay, so she prefers the NRC man, but didn't change anything. So I've always been involved. And then in, I think 2003 or something like that, I was complaining a lot. I thought of writing for a column, but I was afraid that if I wrote a column, people would think it was his opinion, because at that time he had sort of taken a break from politics, that they would think it's his opinion coming through me. I thought of using a pen name, but thought that was kind of... So at the end of the day, I decided, okay, join a political party. So I did, just to go and air my views. Then, a few months later, I got a call that the incumbent senator of the FCT was looking for a woman that she could support to become senator of the FCT. And I said, no, I don't know how to be a senator. And the woman said, well, nobody knows how to be a senator until they're actually a senator. I just want a credible woman, somebody that I can give things to, who can run with it, make proper use of it. So she told me to come back and register to vote. I did, because I didn't even register to vote. And then she mentored and guided me through, because immediately I agreed. Before I knew it, within a couple of weeks, I was the party flag bearer. And it's like, now what? So she guided me through it, showed me the political ropes in the FCT. Though I had lived here for a long time, I didn't even know my ward. She showed me everything, and I must say kudos to her that my first outing was so good, because the PDP government, that was the government in power at the time, it took 1 year of resources, effort and everything to actually take that seat from me, because each time we would go, the court would rule, nope, they did not win. So it was a long, drawn out battle with just little me with no money. So it just showed the kind of support I had from the FCT, and I did have a lot of support. So much so that even afterwards, when people were saying, they're going to settle you, I said, no, I cannot be settled because this project was not mine alone. Lots of people got involved. There were people who gave, I didn't have any money. Every money I used for that campaign came from people who gave me 1K to the people who gave me 3K, nobody in 3 million, nobody gave me more than that. Every kobo came from FCT people. Sometimes I'd be campaigning somewhere, some news team will come and video the campaign saying it's news so that they can give me prime time coverage. So everybody gave me their 2 pence. So it was a collective effort. So I promised, after when I did all this settled, I promised the people of the FCT that in that particular government they will never see me hold any position that is not the Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to show them that I never agreed to be settled. And I still continued in my politics and on, but just I think over time the ministers preferred more malleable senators, because anytime I complained that, no, madam, we can't have a senator like you now, you'll be too, noisy and you won't agree to anything. So when the primaries come, sometimes the primaries will not hold. If there's affirmative action for women in that party, they will not agree to implement it. That was the story all the way till the last primaries, we didn't even have one. There was just total mayhem, and the party just picked somebody, and of course they would never have picked me. They picked a man who I felt had been in the National Assembly for like 8 years before that as a member of House of Rep with nothing to show for it, and then you still pick him to be your party's flag bearer for Senate. So I just thought, no more politics, I beg. The country isn't getting any better. I entered the politics to improve things, not to help them to make it what it is now. So once I resigned and everybody knew that I said I had left the political space, all the other parties now came and offered me their tickets. I had my own conditions too for what I required of a party, and it was only Labour Party that agreed to those conditions. No trading in delegates, no paying anybody any money. I expected a certain amount of integrity. If we say we're doing this thing differently, then we have to start it differently. That's how I became the flag bearer for Labour Party, and I have given it my all. I have worked very hard and very passionately to this day, and let's see what the FCT people and residents decide.
INEC reform. How confident are you that they will be the umpire that would ensure democracy takes its course?
Well, I am pretty confident. I mean, not 100%, because maybe they know how they can circumvent the system. But I'm saying that we will have at least much more credible elections than we used to have. Now, I have to tell you something about the FCT. Even when there was a lot of rigging and the room for rigging, in the FCT, it wasn't as easy as most places, because the bulk of the voters are literate people, and therefore very difficult to manipulate their votes. You can't give them 500 naira to vote for you, because they're people like you and me. They have come to the polling unit for a specific reason. Like on this, my voting polling unit is just on Hilton Junction. You can imagine the kind of people who are there. Everybody knows what they're there for, and even the polling unit officer knows that. You can't bully them, you can't force them to do anything. So FCT never had that much room for rigging. You could do so maybe in the rural areas. The rural areas don't have that much votes. Most of the votes in the FCT, the 50% are in Amak, 25% in Buhari, and the remaining 25% in the other 4 local governments. So even if you claim you won all the votes in the other side, you still have the 75% to get through.
So, lastly, which is the survival and the battle for survival of the FCT and development of FCT. You're going to square up against Senator Philip Aduda, and you're taking this fight to the finish. Is Ireti Kingibe ready to take this fight for the survival, development and sustenance of the FCT people to the last?
Yes, she is. Everybody in the FCT, they all know me. Whenever there's something to be done, I get up and do it. And I'm sorry to say, Senator Aduda could have done a lot more for the FCT in the last 12 years. In fact, 20 years, because he's been in the National Assembly for 20 years. And what he could have done or didn't do is now academic. I would say that whatever good things he had to offer us, he's already done so. And it's time for somebody else to continue wherever he left off. The FCT has not progressed the way we all feel it should have under him. So it's time for a change.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for this time, and we wish you the best.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
People are offering money. Somebody offered me 100 million. Well, where did the person get it from? And it's like, so where did I'm looking for 20K.
And he has 100 million.
And you have 100 million to sell.
In cash, do you give?
Yes, for 20%, 25%, 30%. These things are illegal. And at the end of the day, the president or whoever the regulators are need to look at where are these monies coming from. Because really, truly, if I think they had capped it at 500,000 naira a week, right? If that is how they capped it, if they actually gave us what they said we can have, there won't be any issue, and it's not enough for the bad people to use it to do anything bad with. If you are a kidnapper and it's only 500K you want from the person you kidnapped, then it's not a big deal. But so all the things that the whole policy is meant to stop, it would have actually achieved it without this serious suffering on the part of everybody else, law-abiding citizens.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
This is a very special opportunity.